Welcome, everybody. We are back again in the Company of Charity podcast,
Yay.
2020. We
Oh,
are
it's
here.
so awesome. It's so awesome.
Now, when you were in the year 2000 and we all thought that the world was going to end and that all our computers were going to shut down.
Yeah.
And you
Where
thought,
was I?
well, you thought of the year 2020. Did it not seem like forever, like that was never going to even happen?
Yeah, it did. I mean, not because I thought the world was going to end, but it just seemed like really, really far away, you know?
I'm going to date you. I graduated high school in the year 2000.
Oh my goodness.
Cheers.
I remember, this is going to date myself. I remember when I was working in high school in the 80s.
Oh no.
1980s, yeah. So I was just fresh out of college, young, in the 1980s. And we got like a Social Security thing, you know, like you get this letter in the mail that says if you work at this pace and at this rate for so long, when you retire in, mine said 25. And I was like, when I retire at 25, what does that mean? We're like, no, it's the year 2025.
20.
And then in the 1980s, I thought, when is that ever going to happen? That's like forever. And I'm thinking, that's 5 years from now. Had I picked a different path for life, you know, I'd be like thinking of retiring and getting a Winnebago and driving across the country and stuff like that, you know, or taking cruises or,
you know, sometimes people
like not retiring, but working still. I mean, doing things like that.
People ask the sisters, oh, when do you retire and just relax and all that stuff? And I just think to myself, have you even met us?
Yeah. I think when you sign like the paper that says I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, it also has like a little clause that we don't always read that says retirement is now officially out of your vocabulary. You know, like,
exactly.
it does no longer apply to you. So forget about it.
I just admire these sisters who are just working and loving it and serving the Lord into their later years. It's inspiring.
It's great. It's great. And I love sitting around the table with them and they'll, you know, be talking and they're saying, well, you know, it's great when this happens and that happens. And wait till you get to this point. I'm thinking to myself, I have another 30 years, you know, I have another 25 years to reach the point where this sister is, right? Like I'm going to be that person 25 years from now. And it makes me remember back to those old high school days when I thought retirement age, that's like forever away.
Yeah,
you know?
That's like grandma's.
Yeah.
Basically.
And then I think, oh my goodness, I could have another 20, 25 years, you know? I think there's like
God
biblical
willing.
stuff in that, you know, like they're good at 70, 80 if they're lucky, you know, like I think, oh my gosh.
We read that every 4 weeks in the Psalms.
We do.
80 with good health.
Yeah. So God willing, we have good health, you know, 20 more years, I'm in.
Sign me
I'm
up.
going for it. Yeah.
Now listen, happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you too, sister.
And how are our refugee friends up there? How's it been going in the cold north?
They're freezing. Oh my gosh. We're still trying to figure out how to convince people to wear socks, you know, but you know, generally they don't stay out that long if none of us do, you know, if you don't have to, because it's like below zero sometimes. I mean, it might be 8 degrees, but it feels like 2 below, you know, so that's kind of tough. We haven't really had a bad winter yet. I mean, I don't know what really bad winter is, but you know, maybe we've gotten like 10 inches of snow.
That's actually pretty low, I would imagine.
Yeah,
for that
yeah, it's really not that bad, but the temperatures it's been cold. It's been really cold. But I do have to tell the story about the snowball making experience. I have to back it up a little bit. We got this gift of these sleds, you know, those saucer sled things. So we got those and we're waiting for a snow to come, but I'm also trying to find the hill that we're going to use to sled down on these things and how exactly that's going to work. I'm thinking they're going to be horrified. You know, I mean, this is traumatic. Snow is traumatic. Well, because you can't get it until you're out in it to really understand how cold it is and exactly what it is. You know, it's an very odd concept. I mean, my nephews who live in Florida, went through the same thing. They didn't
They've
quite get
seen
it for
snow
the
for the
first
first
time.
time and all
Exactly.
that.
It's just
Yes.
it's an odd thing if you've never seen it. So, yeah, so we just, we kind of lay low in the snowy days. But we were at church the other day, bringing one of the families with me to church, and get out of the car, and we were a little early, and there's still snow on the car, and so I pulled some snow off, and I was with one of the kids. He's 11 years old, and I was like, "Hey, look, you can make snowballs. Have you ever made a snowball before?" And I was like, "Here, put my gloves on," and I was showing him how to make a snowball. And so he makes this perfect snowball, and I make one, and he looks at me, and I said, "So once you make the snowball, you take it and you like throw it at someone." I'm thinking in my head,
You
I know
finish the sentence, you
it,
throw
right.
it at someone.
And he just looked at me like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, gonna throw this at somebody? It doesn't make one bit of sense. And I
What
thought,
kind of violent nun are you?
this was crazy. And I said, "Well, forget it." So I said, "Well, just watch. It's not that bad." So I took it and threw it on the ground. And, if anyone has made a really good snowball, they just explode, and it just looks great, but it has impact. That was it. I think he thought, "What is wrong with this woman?" This is sister. What is going on? Why would she ever do
It's
this?
so
And so I said,
satisfying, though, to throw it on
not
at a
when you're
wall
11.
or whatever.
It just, I mean, in the real, um, important side of this, these are all the kind of teachable moments where they teach me, where I forget that all things American are not good, all things whatever. That, sometimes you just don't, those kinds of concepts don't translate. And you can't
That
make
is
it up, you
funny.
can't figure out, when you're still trying to work on language barriers and trying to explain to someone why you would throw this hard hunk of snow at someone, just made no sense to this poor kid. And I felt so, and I'm looking like the only person near us was his mother, I'm thinking, no, we're
Yeah,
not going
throw
to
it at
throw
your
this.
mom. That sounds like a
Throw this
great
at his
idea.
mother. So anyways, I said, "Oh, we won't, no, we won't throw them at anyone." And he was a little satisfied with she's not going to make me do that. To make a snowman. So I took his little one and I stuck it on top of mine, my second one that I was making, and that didn't make any sense either. So,
Just wait
he's
till the 4th of
grows
July
very
when you
that.
light fires and
Well, the
blow up bombs
fireworks,
in the
that
air.
they've kind of already gotten over that. You can kind of prepare them for fireworks, but snowball fights, no, it didn't go over
Not
big.
quite there yet.
No, not quite there yet. No. So, but I made some really good snowballs. I was very excited. This snow was awesome, for snowball making or snowman making. And I realized these kids he had not seen Frozen yet, so he didn't get the whole Olaf reference or anything.
Right.
I was
You
totally,
took the young ladies to see Frozen
we
2.
did. We took, yeah, four of them.
Classic.
Yeah, two, 3-year-olds, a 6-year-old and an 11-year-old. We went to see Frozen 2, and oh, it was amazing. The movie was amazing. The really most amazing thing, though, was the recliners.
Oh,
The 2 3-year-olds, that was the bomb.
I'm
They loved
sure
Olaf every
they.
time he came up, or Elsa. Every once in a while, you'd hear one remind the other, "Elsa, Elsa." But otherwise, the recliners were it.
I'm like a 3-year-old in a recliner at those places. Are
And at
you
a
kidding?
Frozen,
They're
yeah, the
great.
6-year-old sat with me, and she was on the edge of the seat the whole time, saying, "Do you think this is going to happen? Do you think that's going to happen? Do you?" I said, "I don't have any idea. I really don't know." But we had a great time. So that particular child, the 6-year-old, I drive to school in the morning. And
Yeah.
so when she gets in the car, there's 2 boys and herself. And she'll get in the car and she'll say, "Frozen 2?" And the boys just groan in the back seat. They're so
Yeah.
tired of listening. What is it, out in the unknown or out something? I don't know.
Into the
Like you
Great Unknown. I forget the name of
into the
it.
unknown, something like that.
One of
Yeah.
the listeners can help us out with that.
Yeah, yeah. It's whatever it is, it's a great song. We sing it all the way to school, the 10 minutes it takes us to get there. And the boys just cringe in the back seat. They just can't stand it. But you know. So that's life, in the winter with refugees from the Congo who are just beginning to understand what winter really means.
Yeah, the refugee part I can be a little jealous about, but the snow, I will not sign on for that.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. But now you had a big adventure, big accomplishment that you probably would not have done in the snow, I would imagine.
No.
So tell us a little bit about what you just did, Sister Liz.
I am 4 days out from having completed my first ever marathon, 26.2 miles in McAllen, Texas. And it was both amazing and memorable and terrifying and painful all at the same time.
It sounds like throwing a
Oh
snowball for the
my
first time.
goodness.
Yeah, I don't even want to imagine. I just,
It was so amazing.
well, I remember when you first told me, I was thinking I was driving somewhere and it was like 10 miles away and however long it took me to get there in my car. And I thought, she's going to run this like 3 times. How long does that take exactly? I thought, oh my
5 hours and 44 minutes apparently
5
is how
hours and
long it
44 minutes.
takes.
Yeah. Yeah.
For my
Yeah.
running friends out there, I'm sure, well, I know some folks and people I've worked with who've run marathons who are like 3:15, 3:30, these are, I would call them real runners, but
Yeah.
I was plugging away, and this particular marathon, I've run several halves. I did a couple halves up in St. Louis where, I mean, it's just thousands and thousands of people. Well, this race had 1,000 people, but it
Total.
was 3 different races. So we all start at the same time, the people who are running the half, the people who are running the whole thing, and then the people who are doing the marathon relay. And so the first half, I mean, for me it was like a dream. It was so much fun. And, there's this lady that was we were running a little bit together because you find the people who are similar pace as you. And, you kind of get a sense if someone is open to that, where you can kind of stick together a little bit for a little while. And that was, it's a good support in a way. And, but there's a moment where the half people go this way and the marathon people go that way. And there was 160 something people doing the full marathon.
So all of a sudden you felt like a lonely little runner out there.
And again,
Oh
I'm
my
not the
goodness.
fastest of all time.
Yeah.
So, my brother and sister-in-law and the kids came, and they were just marvelous. The sisters came, they were at different areas, different mile markers. And, you get past the half and you're like, yes, halfway there. I hit the lowest point at about 17, 18 miles. And I'm thinking to myself, I still have 9 more to go.
That's crazy. I can't even imagine. Can't even imagine.
10 more miles,
yeah.
9 more miles to go. And, thankfully there were, obviously aid stations, people cheering. When your family comes, they're awesome and they love you and they're like obligated. They flew down here to see me.
I was going to say, come on, let's give your brother some credit, right? That was amazing. He came down with the kids.
Yes, they did. They
That's
came
amazing.
And they were really lovely. And the kids ran with me for a minute. And
oh, that is so sweet.
It was awesome. And they had these little bells and little whistles. And they have this thing called a matraca, which is like you turn it and it has this loud ticking noise, which is completely obnoxious. But in the open air, it's amazing. And but then there are these strangers. I mean, just people sitting outside their house with signs. And then, there were different aid stations where they had people dressed in costumes and stuff like that. And it's,
It's like a
and
whole community event. It's awesome.
they're like, go. And then they can see your name on the bib, and they're like, Sister Liz, go, you got it, And it was so heartwarming and everything. And then it got to mile 24. And that is where the wheels started coming off. And I just was like, how am I going to do this? Because you do the little mind games of, 8 miles. I've done 8 miles. I
I've done
just did
8
that.
miles
That's
before.
nothing, right?
Right.
And then, okay, 3 miles, that's just me running to the gas station and back in town. I mean, I do that all the time. But then the mind games stop working after a while, because you're like, I just can't move.
Because reality says you just rode to the gas station 8 times, and you don't normally do that.
It was,
like, this is not what normally happens.
and
I
it's
mean, what's
again,
your body saying to you at this point? Like, your mind is saying, we can't do this. Like, you just need to stop, I'm imagining. Or you're in some kind of, endorphin, craziness.
the people in the business call it the pain cave.
Wow.
The
And you
pain cave.
you subscribe with these people? Then once somebody said to me, something you're going to do is going to bring you to the pain cave, I'd be like, okay, yeah, we'll skip that one.
We're not doing the pain
Any
cave.
chance I would ever become a runner just stopped right there, just ended. But go on, tell us about the pain. For the runners listening, they're all in unity and solidarity with
They're like,
you.
yeah, I know what she's
Yeah, we
talking
know,
about. The
pain
pain
cave.
cave.
It's all about it.
So, and I'm just, my legs are like, they feel like tree trunks. Like I can barely move,
Uh-huh.
and you just think like, I think I might die out here. I think I might die. But then, there's the little guys with the flags who are blocking the roads. And then I think to myself, that man is standing there and he's waiting for me to come so he can block traffic so that I can come
Yeah.
through. And
Oh,
like,
what a daughter charity thought in the midst of the pain cave. That I love that. I
you know,
must run for the man who's been standing out here for 5 hours.
and
5
the poor
hours.
guys, I mean, it's not like they can take a break or just relax. I mean, they
Right,
have
because they
to.
don't know when you're going to show up, right?
And then here I am, like, and they're like, you're almost there. And the man told me,
Oh.
it's 1.5 miles. And I'm like, 1.5 miles? I just don't know. But you turn the bend, and there's the convention center and the big giant flag and the arch. And I had this crew of my brother and sister-in-law and the kids, and Sylvia and her son from work, and another coworker and her fiance. And I'm like, okay, it's done now. I
Right, I
mean,
got to do. They're waiting for me.
they're waiting and
Right,
they're cheering, and they're not going to stop because they see me now. Because once they
right,
see
right.
you, it's like, you can't, there's no walking at that point. So I get through, I get that medal, and it's enormous and it's just glowing. And I turn to where my family is, and I promptly go and sit down.
You've been sitting ever since? Is that they just picked you
I
up?
haven't moved for the last 4 days.
Wow.
It was really, when I get down to it, for me, it was more than a race. I mean, people, this is going to sound slightly cliche, so I apologize for everyone listening. Like, for me, this was the culmination of really 12 years of my life. Of when I came to the community, I was, when I was in college, I was pretty overweight, and I was about 35 pounds heavier. And during our novitiate, our seminary that we call it, was an opportunity I took to get my health in order,
Hmm.
start eating better, you know? And it started with, I'm going to run for 5 minutes, walk for 10 minutes, run for 5 minutes. And that's how it started.
Wow. I didn't realize, I mean, I knew it was in the seminary. I didn't realize what the process was for you. But I've always admired you. I mean, you've stuck with this. It, it has definitely defined you and helped to shape you, I think, not just physically shaped you,
Yeah.
I was,
Yeah.
but, I think it's something that's been a great focus and probably good on your mental health as well, because
Yeah.
I always think, I always kind of, when I was doing vocation work, would say, you have three things you can give to the poor, a healthy body, a healthy mind, and a healthy prayer life. If those three things are in line, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, you don't have to be a teacher, you don't have, but to serve, those three things are important. And I wish I could say all mine were unhealthy. Said I could probably start running 5 and walking 10, or running 2 and walking
Yeah.
8, or, you know um, so I really admire that you've made it to this place. I mean, the
Yeah.
training itself is going to be pretty grueling, I would
And I
think.
think, it is interesting because they have you run 20 miles in training. That's the most you do in a training run. And then after that, you kind of taper back down until the race to kind of save up your energy or whatever it is. And it's you really are trusting that this process is going to get you across the finish line, even though you've never run more than 20 miles in
Yeah,
training.
that part's pretty amazing. That is pretty amazing. Like, I once you've reached that 20 mark, you are in, like, a place you've never been before.
Right, right.
And all you have to look forward to is the pain cave when you go into it, unless you've already been there before you hit 20 miles. I don't know, but that I think that's where, obviously I would think that's where the place of faith comes in, trusting that God's going to be there. God's going to be like your running mate, when the other
Yeah.
160 people have kind of
Already
scattered.
finished, and I'm like the
It's,
last.
you're
No, I
right.
I
Other than the
definitely was
random.
not the last one, but I
Well,
tell you,
there's no shame in being the last one. If that was the situation, would still be proud of you.
my dad had a really good reflection that he shared, and that was the idea that, you know, it wasn't about just the race, it was about the whole training leading up
Hmm.
to it and the experience of it. And, he likened it to the things that God is preparing for us to do for him, like the faithfulness in the everyday, the showing up, the getting it done even if you don't feel like it. And then, those things prepare you for whatever that big thing is, the big day, the
Yeah,
showtime, the whatever it is, that none of that is wasted. And God may say, okay, you know what? Now it's the time. We're going to put
yeah.
all that into place. And
Oh,
you're going to, the training is going to pay off. Um, and
that's great. I love that. I love that.
I think when you look back at your experiences in life, that it's the spirit. It's how God leads us through those times to where we are now. Because
Hmm.
I wouldn't be here if I hadn't, you know, been in a military family, or, I got deferred at UVA, and so I went to Mary Washington instead. And, these are things that happen that were defining
Hmm.
moments. And none of this would have been if those things hadn't happened.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about how we end up, even the places where we end up. When I was in Arkansas working at Jericho Way, not knowing that certain events are going to happen in your life that are going to kind of jettison you off, create an opportunity or a space in which I'm going to be missioned from something I didn't think I would be leaving into something I had never thought I was going to do. Um, but then realizing it's exactly the place that I'm supposed to be right now, teaching somebody how to make snowballs, and then realizing that's not what you're supposed to teach him.
Right.
Like
Right.
this is not this process. I think as you're saying, that place of training, that place of process, that place of helping people move forward even is not about these kinds of things, although they can be fun. It can
Mm.
be fun. It really is about helping them, see where are they in their marathon training. Where are these young kids now, memories, thoughts, experiences of where they came from, refugee camps and places where they were struggling, or maybe even didn't know that they were struggling, but their moms, their families kind of kept them going and kept them going, knowing there was a finish line somewhere. And I guess the finish line is not the end. It's the
Right.
finish of that particular moment, and then you get to rest for a little while, right?
Which I have been doing
Yeah.
because I was just able to bend my knees a couple weeks, no, a couple days ago. I was able to walk downstairs and bend down and all of that.
Oh
So
my,
I'm starting to feel
I
human
can't
again.
imagine doing something deliberately that makes me feel that way. I still think it's amazing. I mean, we can get profound about this and, the journey with God and all that's important, but at some point I have to say, what did you just do to your body?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really something. But I felt like it was a real community experience, not just because my family came and coworkers and the sisters, but everybody online that not only donated to the cause
I
that's
was just going to
helpful.
say this was a fundraiser, a nun fun raiser.
Running Nun
Fun,
fundraiser. I don't know.
I don't know what it
Check with
was. You had
Eduardo about that.
it was a tongue twister. I was like, what is she trying to say?
But we raised almost $4,500.
That's
So
fabulous. Yeah. So it's worth all the pain, right?
yeah,
No
for what,
pain, no gain.
five
That's it.
hours of work? That's not so
That's
bad.
that's fabulous. Yeah. That's pretty good. So when's the
So,
next one?
I can't even think of it. They
No.
say you should do one every month, $4,000 a pop.
I
I
know.
don't think it works that way, but
No, not quite. Not quite. But each one you could up the ante a little, like maybe do one
yeah.
every 3 months.
Well, people came through. That's what I was really grateful for. And then, I try to honor them, and I had almost 3 names per mile that I was praying for, and had my little list that I pull out.
I
And
thought that was I saw that on Facebook. I
yeah,
was like, that is the cutest thing ever. Only she would think
yeah,
about this.
it was
Like, I'm going to
very,
pray for you. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
yeah. And then I'd try these like little acronyms to try and remember the names while I was still going. And it was really good. And, I hope people felt honored by that, because
Yeah.
it is a team effort. And not everybody has the opportunity or the time to train, which I was graciously given and permission to do. And just glad that it all worked together. And I think that sometimes we think that when we're following God's path, that, I don't know, that it's just always going to be hard, and that we're going to have to give up our dreams and all
Hmm.
of that. And this was a dream of mine. When I first started running, no way, but it became a dream that I had. And the fact that it came together for me, uh, I don't know. I'm just so grateful for it, that
Yeah.
it
Well,
happened.
we're all very proud of you, really. We can joke about like this is sadistic to do, um, but really I do. I mean, I hear you and I do know you well enough to know this is kind of living a dream you weren't even sure that you had, a goal that was kind of out there, something maybe someday, even to think about doing it is a big deal. I might never get there, but to not just get there, but to do it fairly well,
Yes.
that's a big accomplishment, and it has to feed into and inform all the other things you do. I mean, I really believe that those kind of events do speak into our prayer life, and they speak into our ministry. That it's all connected. It's all connected.
Yeah.
You know.
It's
So
a
that's
real
great.
gift. And
Well, congratulations on the
yeah, I'm glad
first
we could
one.
take some time to
Yay.
talk about it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
relive and reminisce of my last weekend.
Well, I was the last time I talked to you, you were lying on a couch somewhere, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Like, I've never just seen you hanging out. I thought, was she like watching TV or something? What's she doing? You're like, "I'm not supposed to move." But I thought, the heck? And then seeing you tonight, I said, "What is she doing? What's it? I can't move." So we went from "I'm not supposed to move, I'm in training," to "I can't move because I
Now I
just
can't
ran
move.
26 miles 3 days ago." This is the
Oh,
most sedate I have ever seen you.
I
That's pretty
needed I
amazing.
needed it to kind of get me calmed down and
Yeah,
get my mind right for 2020.
yeah. Well,
I have
2020 is
to
here.
have to say I'm really excited about this year, about the podcast, about the guests that we have coming up, because I think it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be a good
I,
one, good
yeah,
different people.
yeah. We're
Um,
going to be talking with some Vincentian priests. We're not going to name names yet, but we've got some good folks lined up. Maybe some other members of the Vincentian family, kind of broadening out that concept of vocation a little bit. The Vincentian family is pretty far and wide. Millions of us all over the world. Vincentian priests, members of St. Vincent de Paul Society, members of the Miraculous Medal, Ladies of Charity, other religious congregations. I mean, we're everywhere. So,
yes,
you know,
exactly.
right. So
And
if
I
you want to
think
be a
the
Vincentian, there's probably a Vincentian in your neighborhood. You should check them out. Just put a sign out, put a little statue of St. Vincent, you know,
see what
right
happens.
next to your statue of Mary out in the yard or something, See what happens. Some Vincentian's going to be out there. I believe it.
Exactly.
Someone's going to say,
Exactly.
"Oh yeah, the St. Vincent de Paul Society, or DePaul University, or do you know Niagara, or do you know the Daughters of Charity were at this parish?" I'm telling you, you put a little
It's
Vincentian
amazing.
something outside your house, some Vincentian's going to walk by and
And say
feel the
hello.
reflection, know the charism's alive. So all to say, some of our episodes coming up are gonna bring out that family
And we
aspect,
are
and
also going to have a series on missionaries and missionary experiences. And I
I'm
think that's going to be
excited
really cool too.
very excited about that. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. I think March is kind of our, we're going to dedicate that to missionaries, right? And use
Mm-hmm.
the whole month. Last year we did voices from the Mother House. It's going to be
Yes.
voices from the missions, So, and March is such a great month for us because it's usually the month that we celebrate the Feast of the Annunciation on the 25th,
Mm-hmm.
when we renew our vows, which is something every daughter of charity is going to do. So that's an awesome time just for us to remember, who we are and why we are, and the
The other
great gift.
thing that's coming
Yeah.
up too, in these next months, God willing, we'll have a sister sent on mission out of the seminary.
Oh,
And
that's yes.
another, God
Yeah.
willing, we'll have 2 new members sometime in the summer. So
That isn't that exciting.
yeah, we
It
also have our
is
provincial
exciting.
assembly coming up, which
Coming up in
is
July. Yeah. That's going to be amazing. It's something that happens just every 6 years. Um, yeah, when the process for me sometimes is so. I mean, it's similar to what we were talking about earlier. It's you have these meetings in your local community, in your house, talk about these topics that we're kind of asked to look at and focus on, and then those our wisdom, what we've learned, what we've talked about, gets brought to the whole province. We gather together as one province, and then what we have to say in that province gets brought to the General Assembly in Paris, where the other, was it like 91 other provinces
yeah, it's a
come. I
little
mean,
crazy how many
yeah, it's when
provinces
you
we have
think
now.
about 14,000 women coming together to find common ground, find common wisdom that throughout the world we can think about. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And so that we're in that process now, and it's fabulous. It's so great.
So
It's so great.
we'll be dropping some hints of
Whew.
these little side commentaries as we
Yeah.
go
Yeah. So
along. And
missionaries, we've got, widening the Vincentian family, looking at vocations, talking about the worldwide community, and the daughter charity focus on how we will serve the poor around the world, not limiting ourselves just to what's in front of us, but saying how I serve those who are in front of me, how I serve those who are struggling with me here in Utica, you there in Brownsville, wherever a daughter charity is. She does it with the same focus and charism and love and respect for the poor that Vincent and Louise taught us about. And that to me is just astounding. It's just so amazing. So absolutely amazing. So that's really cool. So that's something to keep tuned, subscribe, make sure you're getting these podcasts,
wherever it is you
reminders
get
that
your podcasts on, we are
we
likely
are
there.
there. We are there because we are everywhere. We are everywhere. 14,000 of us around the world. I'm telling you, put a sign out, somebody's going to come to your door.
And if you do like these co-host chats, you might hear another one every now and again, but not too frequently, because not everybody loves the co-host chat.
Not everybody loves co-host chats. I don't know what's wrong with those people, but we have to respect them. Everyone has their preference. Some would prefer less banter. Me, I like banter.
We have a good time with it.
We do. And for those of you who like it, we are so glad. And,
if you made it to the end of this co-host chat, you win the prize. Congratulations.
You win the prize.
There's a medal for you on the other side.
I think there's a coaster somewhere. We still have coasters,
Listen, if you want a podcast coaster, I will send you one.
Yeah, that's
it. Send us an email. We will send you a coaster.
Yeah. So that's a lot. That's a lot of chatting.
Thank you so much. This has been fun.
It has been really fun. We have a lot of work ahead of us because we're only, maybe halfway through the season?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we still have a long way to go.
But we're enjoying it.
We've got to be training.
The big race. The big race of life.
It's coming. It's coming. That's right. Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for persevering with us. And as always, you can connect with us, companyofcharity@gmail.com. Please leave us a rating and review here on Apple iTunes. And if you so desire to screenshot the episode and send it to a friend who might appreciate it, especially any of your marathon runner or runner friends, please go ahead and do that, because, nuns like to run too. It's a thing.
There you go. Play safe if you're near the snow. Don't throw snowballs at people who don't want to throw at you.
Exactly.
Okay, be careful. Play safe.
Enjoy.
Stay safe.
God bless everybody.
This has been in the Company of Charity podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.